Welcome to the Top Scorer Education presentation about the ACT. The presentation you're about to watch is all about the American College Test and the differences between the SAT and the ACT standardized tests. My name is Kirsty Jeffrey. I'm originally from Delray Beach, Florida. I swam in high school and all throughout college. I went to Duke University and graduated in 2011. After graduation, I joined the Teach for America movement and taught 6th and 7th grade at Paul Public Charter School in Northwest DC. I joined Top Score Education shortly thereafter as a private tutor to continue my commitment to education. The agenda for the presentation is as follows. We will be discussing the key SAT and ACT differences. The topics include content, time, and scoring. We will then take an in-depth look at the ACT testing. We will then talk about score results for each test. The general differences on the SAT and the ACT are listed below. Work speed is the biggest difference between the two tests. If your student is a fast worker, the ACT is the better option. If your student needs more time to process questions, the SAT may be for them. There is no science portion on the SAT. If your student is very comfortable with science, they should probably take the ACT. There is more advanced math on the ACT than on the SAT. If your student is a poor math student, they may consider the SAT. There is no vocabulary on the ACT that is tested outright. There are vocabulary portions of the SAT, and if your student is very advanced in vocabulary, they may want to take the SAT. We've composed a chart to show you the key differences between the SAT and the ACT. The SAT is 3 hours and 45 minutes, which is 20 minutes longer than the ACT. The SAT has 10 sections and the ACT has 5. There's a guessing penalty on the SAT, and they take 1/4 point off for every wrong answer, where there is no guessing penalty on the ACT. The question style on the SAT is tricky, whereas the question style on the ACT is more straightforward. You also get more time per question on the SAT than on the ACT. Vocabulary is tested a lot on the SAT, where there is very little vocabulary needed for the ACT. There is no science or trigonometry on the SAT, where there is trigonometry and science on the ACT, and you have 5 minutes longer for the essay on the ACT. The differences between the ACT and the SAT in content are as follows. It is said that the ACT measures what a student has learned in high school subjects, and the SAT tests critical and analytical thinking skills. However, both tests are of almost equal difficulty and around the same length. The SAT has an extra vocabulary section and a mandatory essay, whereas the ACT has a science section. Colleges accept and don't prefer either test. Time is the biggest difference in the SAT and the ACT. The SAT is 3 hours and 45 minutes long, 70 minutes for reading, 70 minutes for math, and an hour for writing. It is longer than the ACT by 20 minutes. The ACT is 3 hours and 25 minutes long, 45 minutes for English, an hour for math, 35 for reading, 35 for science, and 30 for an optional essay, or 2 hours and 55 minutes with no essay. We recommend that you do the writing portion of the test, and we will discuss this later in the presentation. Time-wise, the ACT is more stringent. If you have problems with speed, the SAT may be for you. If you like simpler word problems and work quickly, the ACT may be your best option. Scoring is also different on the two standardized tests. The SAT exam is scored on the basis of a 200 to 800 points per section, for a combined 3-section total score between 600 and 2400. You can take a super score. A super score is the combination of all the best subjects in each test to create your highest possible score. The ACT is scored on the basis of 1 to 36 point. It is not super scored, which means that you can take only your best test average from 1, not 2, different tests. The SAT has a guessing penalty of 1/4 point for every incorrectly marked answer. The ACT has no guessing penalty. The ACT was first administered in 1959. All colleges accept the ACT, and it is scored from 1 to 36, and a composite score is taken of all 4 sub-test scores: English, math, reading, and science. In 2005, they added the writing portion. Recently, the ACT narrowly surpassed the SAT in test takers. The ACT in 2012 is now more popular than the SAT. So why the ACT? ACT Incorporated maintains that its scores provide an indicator of college readiness, and that scores in each of the subtests correspond to skills in entry-level college courses in English, algebra, social science, humanities, and biology. According to a research study conducted by the ACT, a relationship was found between the student's ACT composite score and the possibility of he or she earning a college degree. Here's a visual way to view the breakdown of the ACT scores and subscores. For English, there's 75 questions for 45 minutes. The average score is about 20.6, and the college readiness benchmark is 18 points. This tests usage and mechanics of rhetorical skills. Math has 60 questions for 60 minutes. The average score is 21, and it has pre-algebra, elementary algebra, intermediate algebra, geometry, and elementary trigonometry on it. Reading is 40 questions, as science is 40 questions. Both sections have 35 minutes, and both involve a lot of reading. There's an optional writing essay at the end of the test for half an hour. This tests your writing skills and ability to convey your thoughts on paper. The SAT and the ACT are necessary evils. The content of the ACT is closer to a material that students have covered in high school than the content of the SAT, but it is still more accurate than the SAT in predicting college grades. The bottom line, no student can be fairly assessed on just a test, but is the only baseline to determine whether or not a student will succeed in college. The ACT is offered 4 to 6 times a year depending on the state. In the U.S., it's offered in September, October, December, February, April, and June. You should pick a test date at least 2 months ahead of your application deadlines of all colleges and scholarship agencies you may want to apply to. This may be different for high school athletes. You can change the date for a $21 fee, and that is non-refundable. The test dates and sites are listed on their website. In order to prepare for the ACT or the SAT, one should read and take practice tests. According to the Washington Post, these tests are highly coachable, even if organizations that own and administer them say they aren't, giving a boost to kids who have the money or wherewithal to get tutored. You have options. Take practice tests, go through prep books, or visit us at topscoreedu.com. The night before a test, make sure to get lots of rest and bring a snack. To take the writing portion of the ACT is a very important decision. Candidates may choose the ACT without writing or the ACT plus writing. We recommend the writing portion to showcase your verbal skills, and it doesn't impact your composite score. Most colleges prefer to have the writing test on the ACT. There are testing accommodations for students with special needs. There is special testing and extended time testing for students that may need it. The students must have a diagnosed condition, ample documentation, and a school testimony to receive extended time or other accommodations. Extended time is a time and a half on the ACT, but is more difficult to get than on the SAT. Refer here for special testing questions and applications, or call the number on the screen for more information. In order to send the scores to your school, the school of your choice, you can choose between sending on the test date or sending later. On the day of your test, you can send 4 scores to colleges for free by putting in college codes. It's easy to send more scores after the test by letter, online request, or phone order. Additional reports are $11 per school. Leave school codes blank unless you're in the recruiting process. This allows students to receive scores, retake, and decide where to apply to college. Once you get your scores, you can compare yourself to the national average. The ACT composite score and percentile of students below are as follows. The national averages for the SAT for the class of 2012 were critical reading, 496, math, 514, writing, 488, totaling 1498. For the ACT, the national average was English, 20.5, math, 21.1, reading, 21.3, science, 20.9, totaling 21.1 composite score. You can view your scores for free online 3 to 8 weeks after your test. Usually the scores are available 2.5 weeks after. You can always cancel your results. To cancel, you write to the address listed on the screen. To improve your results, students can retake the test. 55% of students who retake the ACT improve their scores, 22% of their scores stay the same, and 23% see a decrease in their scores. But it is recommended that you take the test more than once. If you have further questions on the differences between the SAT and the ACT, or general questions about the ACT in general, feel free to contact me at kerrjeffrey@topscoreedu.com.